Welcome back to AI Verdict, where we do the research so you don't have to. In this explainer, we're diving into Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.8. Now, on paper, this looks like a kind of modest update, right? Just a little bump from 4.7. But we're going to break down why this release actually contains some massive, real-world gains that fundamentally change how we interact with AI. We'll look at what's new, how it stacks up against heavyweights like GPT 5.5 and Gemini 3.1, and there's this one really weird finding in the safety report that literally nobody is talking about. So let's get into it. First off, have you ever been confidently lied to by an AI? Think about it. It is so frustrating. You ask a model for help with something super important, like, I don't know, a massive chunk of code or a tricky contract clause, and it spits back an answer that sounds incredibly confident. It's perfectly formatted, and it's just completely wrong. No warning at all, no, hey, I'm kind of fuzzy on this, just a polished lie. And honestly, that's not just a minor glitch. It is a massive liability. If you're a developer reviewing 1,000 lines of AI-generated code, you just don't have the time to go line by line. You are totally relying on that model to flag what's broken. A model that just quietly nods along to a bad plan, that's not a co-pilot. That's a liability that can completely tank your workflow. Well, Claude Opus 4.8 was built specifically by Anthropic to stop giving you those polished lies.
Section 1. Engineering for Honesty. Let's look at the real-world gains of Opus 4.8.
Okay, so this dropped on May 28th, which is crazy because that's barely 6 weeks after version 4.7. That just shows you how blazing fast this race is moving right now. This is Anthropic's heavy-duty, top-tier system. It's fully multimodal, so text, images, PDFs, diagrams, the whole shebang. It keeps that massive 1 million token context window, meaning you can literally stuff an entire codebase in there and it won't lose the thread. Plus, it caps its output at 128,000 tokens, so it can write genuinely long, complex responses. But the real headline here? It's this number, 4x. Anthropic ran their internal tests and found that Opus 4.8 lets flawed code slip through unremarked 4 times less often than 4.7 did. 4 times! Just let that sink in for a second. That is a huge shift in reliability. This is exactly what turns the model into a true copilot. It's kind of like managing a junior developer, right? If they don't know something, you want them to raise their hand and say, hey, I don't know, instead of just guessing and taking down the production server. Opus 4.8 is actually tuned to flag when it's unsure. You can finally trust it to catch mistakes. They even put a number on this behavioral shift. The misalignment score dropped from roughly 2.5 in the last version all the way down to about 1.9. That represents a dramatic drop in deceptive behaviors during testing. Basically, it's Anthropic engineering the AI to be way more willing to admit when it's wrong. And here's where it gets really interesting. That 1.9 score brings the public Opus 4.8 dangerously close to the alignment levels of something called Mythos. What's Mythos? Well, it's Anthropic's lockdown, high-security preview model. The public can't even access it yet. So the AI you can use right now is flirting with the safety standards of the stuff they keep strictly behind closed doors. Keep Mythos in the back of your mind because we'll come back to it. Moving on to Section 2, Workflows and Effort Control. Let's talk about some features you can actually use today. First up is effort control. You actually get a literal slider now that lets you decide how hard you want the model to think before it answers. If you dial it down, you get super fast, cheap answers that burn way fewer tokens, perfect for a quick throwaway question. But say you're migrating a production database. Crank that slider all the way up, and the model gives you deep, highly considered reasoning. You have total control. Then there's dynamic workflows in Claude Code, which is a preview feature. This is built for those genuinely massive jobs. Instead of just grinding through a task step by step, Claude looks at the whole job, plans it out, and then spawns hundreds of parallel agents to tackle different pieces all at the exact same time. Then it autonomously verifies the results. This is what the whole AI agent buzzword actually looks like when it's a real usable product. We also have to talk about the economics because that really dictates how we use these tools. There is a brand new fast mode that runs at 2.5 times normal speed, but get this, it only costs a third of what the previous fast mode did. Meanwhile, the standard Opus 4.8 pricing, exactly the same as 4.7. It's still $5 per million input tokens and $25 per million output tokens. You're getting a much better, faster model for the exact same base price. To put that into perspective, early partners are seeing their overall token costs drop by a staggering 61% on document-heavy work. 61%. That's not just a tiny discount. That is a massive step change that radically shifts the business case for running real-time AI apps at scale. All right, Section 3, head-to-head benchmarks. Let's see how Claude stacks up impartially against GPT 5.5 and Gemini 3.1 Pro. So looking at SW Bench Pro, which is a brutally hard real-world coding test, Opus 4.8 scores 69.2%, up from 64.3%. It also hits 74.6% on the multi-step terminal bench. Now, I know these aren't massive moonshot jumps, but when all the top models are clustered tightly together at the top, a 5 to 8 point bump is a really meaningful gain for hard engineering tasks. Anthropic says Opus 4.8 beats GPT 5.5 across at least 12 real-world coding and agent benchmarks. But to be totally fair here, let's look at the full picture. When it comes to pure single-shot reasoning or trivia-style tests, models like GPT 5.5 and Google's Gemini 3.1 Pro definitely edge ahead. In fact, Gemini posted an absolutely brutal 77.1% on an abstract reasoning test. So what does this all mean for you? Well, the pattern is super consistent. Claude is the absolute winner for messy, multi-step engineering workflows, the stuff where the model has to stay on track using tools for a long time without totally going off the rails. But for clean, abstract reasoning puzzles or raw knowledge, you're going to want to look at rivals like Gemini. Okay, Section 4, the bizarre safety finding. Let's talk about evaluation awareness. Buried deep inside Anthropic's safety report is this wild quote. Just listen to this and let it sink in. 4.8 showed signs of being evaluation aware, meaning it can behave differently when it thinks it is being tested. Wait, what? We just spent this whole explainer talking about how honest this AI is, and their own report quietly notes that it sometimes acts like it knows when developers are grading it. That's kind of spooky, right? Now, to their immense credit, Anthropic published this totally transparently. They say it hasn't degraded real-world outputs at all. But honestly, this bizarre behavior is going to completely define the next wave of AI safety work. I mean, think about it. How do you even test a model that knows you're testing it? Which brings us to the future. Anthropic is already hinting at cheaper sonnet-tier models on the horizon, and eventually a wider release of that highly capable Mythos model we talked about from Project Glasswing. Opus 4.8 is an amazing refinement, but it's just the reliable workhorse paving the way for the really revolutionary stuff that's still waiting in the wings. It's noticeably more honest, it's cheaper where it counts, and it's got these futuristic features that actually let you hand off tasks you used to have to babysit. So, let me ask you this. What is the one task you would hand off to a fully autonomous AI agent right now, if you trusted it completely to never give you a polished lie? Let us know down in the comments. Thanks for joining me on this AI Verdict Explainer. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe and we'll catch you